Mr. Transformers 96 here. So in the video, we're going to be talking about my top 5 worst movies of the year. This is in kind of conjunction with my other video being the top 10 best movies of the year, my favorite movies. And yeah, this is another kind of end of the year video where I'm going to be ranking my choices for movies. I used to do this a couple years ago. However, it's been a little bit since I've done these top 5 and top 10 kind of worst and best for films. I always do them for toys, but yeah, but I think I took last year off and I didn't do them as far as the movies go. But I wanted to do it again this year. So that's why I'm doing it. You can check out my top 10 best movies of the year. I've already posted that. But here we have my worst. Because although there's great movies that come out in a year, there's of course a fair share of bad movies. And in my opinion, these are the bad ones. As far as, I think that the majority of these, some of these will be controversial, I think. Because some of these are really liked and have like good critic scores too, while others, I think, maybe kind of fan favorites, however not critically liked. I don't know. I think that this might stir up a bit of controversy. I don't think none of these films are beloved by fans and critics alike, though. I will say that. I think that there's a split in all of these, I would say. And yeah, so I feel pretty strongly about all the ones on my list here. And let's get started here with my fifth worst movie of the year for me personally. It's gonna have to be a big movie. This is Lion King, one of the billion-dollar pictures this year. I did not like. I'm a huge Disney fan, and I'm not just a person I'm not just a person that hates live-action remakes or anything like that. I enjoyed Beauty and the Beast. If you watch my top 10 best or favorite movies of the year, Aladdin makes it on that list. I really love Aladdin. However, I think that this is one of the worst missteps of the kind of series of live-action remakes. I think that this is a really poor attempt at remaking The Lion King. One thing that I like about Aladdin personally is that it does stick to the big points of the original animated film. However, it introduces new aspects, new character kind of backstories or developments, and it helps richen the movie and makes it a little bit more complex for a live action feel. Well, this movie does not. This movie is identical to the animated, even down to the lines. Like, I was shocked by how much they were following the animated movie, even line work. I watched the animated, the same day that I saw this movie, the live action, because I was, really excited for it, and I wish that I didn't do that because I probably wouldn't have noticed just how much of it is identical. They added very few new things. There's like one extra scene of somebody kind of escaping, and that's basically the only thing new with it. So other than the fact that it's a carbon copy of the original, what makes it a shame is the fact that it's so live action like it's so realistic looking. I think that the creators, Jon Favreau, who I'm a big fan of, but I think that this is one of his few missteps, was so just kind of intent on making this technological achievement that he didn't think about whether it was a good idea to do it this way, because the animals look photorealistic, but they show no emotion because of that. There's no animated, or not animated, but there's no expressive features because they're animals, and therefore you really don't feel the emotions like you do in the animated film, as well as the locations feel really drab and dull. They look picturesque, realistic. However, they're dull because of that. So, in my opinion, they took the more complex, or the more they took like Aladdin, which added things to the story, but kept the fantastical feel and the bright colors and the extravagant sets, and they didn't do any of that with this one, and therefore, in my opinion, it sucked. I really hated it. I spent the entire movie wanting to like it, but just absolutely couldn't get myself to like it because it's just not good. I know that there are a lot of people that do agree with me, but I think there's also some that really enjoy this movie, and in my opinion, it shouldn't have been made, or if it was made, it should have been made a little bit more with a fantastical eye, because of the source material, even though they're trying to do something technologically advanced. My number fourth choice, though, I'd have to say is Men in Black International. I went into this movie not expecting much of it. I like Men in Black, but I'm not like a huge fan of it. I like the first two movies. The third one I've seen once or twice. And I went into this movie just looking to have fun, because I also saw that the reviews weren't good for it, so I'm like, I'm not going to expect much, I just want to have fun. And to be honest, I really couldn't even have fun with this movie. It felt really paint by numbers to me. It didn't seem to have anything new or exciting. and it just felt really drab because of that. Just didn't enjoy this movie. There's not a ton that I can say about it. I found that the twist at the end is just so standard movie type of thing to do with like who the villain turns out to be, that it wasn't interesting. It wasn't exciting, and overall, I just kind of was waiting for it to be over. So definitely deserved a spot on this list. My number three choice, I think the majority of people haven't seen. You probably haven't even seen a trailer of, but it's Hotel Mumbai. This is a movie based on a true story of kind of an attack on a hotel, which is an interesting source material to go with. Dave Patel is one of the stars, and he's a great actor. However, this movie, I hated it. I just really didn't like it at all. I felt it to be extremely graphic and over the top in some of its depictions of events, and without without like a certain character to really latch on to. It was just kind of watching the events, and the events were just so horrible that I spent the entire movie just wanting it to end. I wanted to leave. I really didn't enjoy it at all, and it was one of my worst experiences in the theater this year, just because I spent the entire time literally waiting for it to end. Like Men in Black, I was just kind of ready for it to end because it wasn't that exciting, but this one I just hated watching, and therefore it definitely deserves a higher spot than Men in Black International. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend this one because most likely you haven't seen it, so wouldn't recommend hunting it down or anything. Now, my number two choice is one that I've only seen one other person's ranking video this year so far, and they had it on their top 10 best. But for me personally, I have it on my worst. It's one that critically has a lot of prestige to it that a lot of people really enjoyed, but personally, I did not. I thought it was really dull, and not just because it's boring, because like I'm okay with slow-paced films. However, this one, in my opinion, is just boring because there's nothing even interesting happening in it. And that's Ad Astra, Brad Pitt's film. I found that the story of this film was intriguing to start off with. You have an interesting kind of mystery as to what has happened with his father, and why it's caused him to react in the personality choices that he has. There's some interesting concepts about kind of the future of space travel, with the idea of like a space airport almost at one point, which I think is really quite neat. I think that the opening kind of, or it's not quite opening, but it happens towards the beginning of the film. They have like a little kind of rover chase sequence. I thought that was really cool. But the entire movie is just dull. It's drab. There's nothing happening at all with the majority of the film, and I kind of kept waiting the entire film to see what actually happened to his father, because like I thought I knew what was, like they kind of set up what happened to his father, but because they set it up, I'm expecting them to break what they set up so that it would be interesting and exciting and unexpected, and they don't. It's exactly what they set up. So it's like a mystery movie when they give you the answer at the beginning, and the answer is super dull. So personally, I thought the ending would at least excite me, and it didn't at all. I find this movie to be really dull in every way. I'm surprised it's getting such high regards. Other than some of the technological aspects of the film, I think the story is incredibly dull and just bad in general, to be honest. Now, my number one film that I hated the most this year is easily going to be the reinvigoration, I guess you can say, of Hellboy. I thought this movie was horrible. This is really unfocused. It's cheap looking. It's a gore fest, and it's uninteresting. Really, all those can describe it. I think Hotel Mumbai and this one were the ones that I was just dying for it to end. All of them I really were ready for them to end, but those two were the ones that I'm just like, just get me out of here, because I did not enjoy this at all. This might have its fans. I think people who are just into kind of gore fest, over the top action might enjoy it. I'm not one of those people though. I'm not into gory films nor over the top action. I like action, but I don't need it to be like hyper intensive ridiculous, and that's what this one was. Also, the story is incredibly disjointed, and when we're so closely comparing it to something, because we've had other Hellboys in the past, and in the recent past, I'd say, this just really falls in comparison, because I'm a fan of the Del Toro Hellboy movies, and this one is just horrible. Even if I didn't have those other two to compare it off of, it would still be horrible. So having two other good movies of the same source material to compare it off of just makes it look even worse. And yeah, definitely my least favorite film of the year. this is the movie that I walked out of it going, well, that's definitely my least favorite movie of the year, and it was only April, and let me tell you, it's held up. It is absolutely still my least favorite movie of the year. So there you go. There's my choices for my top 5 worst movies of the year, in my opinion. And yeah, I think some people like Lion King, some people like Ad Astra. Everybody can kind of agree that Hellboy and Men in Black were not good, and then Hotel Mumbai is a movie that nobody's seen. So that's kind of the breakdown for the list, I'd say. Let me know what you guys think of my choices. I'd love to hear your guys' own as well. And again, you can check out my top 10 favorite movies of the year, because that is also posted. Thanks so much, and yeah, see you in the new year.